So welcome back, and we're now on to the third video for the Microsoft Access Database training. So in this video we're going to demonstrate how to create a simple login system for staff from the different companies with validation and user authorization, bringing them into the dashboard or switchboard or splash screen, whatever you've called it, and we're going to use VBA and SQL code. And it's a bit more complex than the simple coding that we used in the previous videos. So if we're going to look, we've got our dashboard form. So what we want now is to create a simple form that whenever the user's been authorized, they can access the dashboard. And if I go to the next slide, I'm going to just talk about what a simple login system, and there's really three areas. It validates to ensure user entry. Now most people when they're logging in will enter in their username or their staff ID or their email address and their password and then click login. Unfortunately, what happens if somebody just clicks the login button without entering anything? So you do have to have some validation. Not everybody, or it could be just something simple that you just clicked by accident, or somebody is not used to the login system. So you have to take all these things into account when creating any database or programming system. Secondly, then it checks to see if the username or password matches with the record in the database table. So if the username and password that's been entered by the user returns one record in the database table, then it's allowed to proceed on to the next stage. There's two ways of doing this. Some people use a way that actually just checks the username to see if the username actually is in the background table, and if the username isn't in the background table, an error message and an exit sub or an exit or a break or whatever programming language you're using will bring up an error message and end the process. And then if they are in the system, it'll then check to see what the password that was entered by the user was, and if this password is in the background table and there's a match that way. We're going to use this simple double check, which is basically it checks the username and password in the SQL code, reading off the back end table, and if it returns one record, it'll allow us to proceed to the next stage. And the next stage that we're going to have is basically a filtering process which checks the level of authorization for the logged in person. So the person that's logged in, you can check what level of authorization, and then it's within that there that you can actually then allow different components of the dashboard or the splash screen to be enabled, visible. Also you can change some of the properties of the form. So I'm going to just go ahead and we're going to look at dishing up the dashboard a wee bit, so that whenever we go and create our login form, we want to have some different processes available on the dashboard. So in our dashboard or splash screen or switchboard, whatever you've called it, we're going to look at adding a couple of event buttons that we're not actually going to have any events in. We're just going to have them there at this stage, and then later on we'll add the events in. So we're looking at some of the events that are going to be to do with the Throne holiday properties. So the event button is a control, and if you click on it you'll see button, and you can size the button to whatever size you want it. So you'll see automatically there's a command button wizard. What we're going to do is we're going to cancel out of that, and we're actually going to create the properties of the commands ourselves using VBA code. So we've created a blank button. First thing I want to do is give the button a name. Now some people use CMD because it's a command, because it's whatever you're doing. You're going to be doing a command with the button. Most times with the button it's on click event. Some people start with CMD, which means command in VBA or Visual Basic, and some people use BTN, which means a button. So we're going to go with BTN new, and this is going to be to add a new booking, right? So new booking, right? We're going to then, at this stage, we're going to do nothing else. You can see we're going to have it visible, we're going to have it enabled, and you can disable it, which means it can't be clicked, and we're going to use a piece of code for these different aspects. So we've got our BTN new at this stage and just the caption new booking. You can Control C and Control V till copy and paste the button, and this one's going to be, we're going to change this to BTN edit, and it's going to be to edit booking, bookings or booking, or edit booking, just have a booking, right? We're going to have bookings because there's probably going to be a number of bookings. Again, we're going to copy this button, so you can click on it and right click on it and copy, and Control V paste. This time we're going to have a BTN cancel, and that's going to be cancel bookings. And another one we're going to have then is print receipt. So BTN receipt, and we're going to have print receipt. Might have another couple then, so C, V, Control, and this one might be some of the managers functions. So BTN properties report, RPT, and you can have this properties report, and next one might be BTN staff or PT staff report. And you can add in different ones. Then you might have administration functions like add staff, add properties, all of that there. We can come and look at that afterwards. These are just sort of the main ones that we're going to use just for this login screen at the moment. So we'll launch this form. We're going to save it, launch the form, and you'll see brings up all these different buttons. Click on the buttons, they don't do anything. You'll also see we're going through all the different members of staff in the dashboard.